All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Garifuna American Heritage Foundation United channel, Gahfu channel. And my wife and I would like to introduce ourselves. First of all, we wanted to let you know that this is a new podcast that we're creating, and it's going to be called
Stirring the Pot with Ronnie and Cheryl. I'm Cheryl, he's Ronnie.
Yes. And so, to give you a little bit of background, we have had this channel since 2010, 2011. It's been a long, long time, and we have been able to amass lots of videos, over 1,000 videos in our channel. But we wanted to give it a new perspective, a different perspective to our channel, and to be able to share our knowledge as parents, as people who migrated from Central America and acquire a level of knowledge in life. So we wanted to utilize that talent and share it with them, right?
So as you can see, he's like the really like on topic and everything like that, and I'm not. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, pertaining to our experiences here, living in America, being migrants and everything like that. I am going to speak to you from my experience, from a woman's perspective, from a mother's perspective, a daughter, a wife, and also from my upbringing of being a Garifuna woman. It's not going to be me speaking on behalf of all Garifuna people. It'll just be me speaking as from my perspective as a Garifuna woman. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoy our show. Again, this is something new for both of us, and we are going to be learning as we, go through this podcast experience. So, let's get started.
All right, before we get started, I wanted to remind all of you to either like the channel, share the channel, or subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So you could do all three. You can like, share, and we want you to subscribe to this channel so you're able to get alerts on when we release a new podcast.
Okay, so first of all, let's just get it out the way. My husband had to convince me to do this. I am so not. I don't like being in front of the camera. I'm that person that likes to be behind the camera, always taking pictures and everything like that. So my husband is like, "No, it's time for you to get in front of the camera and let's do this." So yeah, so he convinced me to do this podcast, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's just give it a try and see how it goes. We'll see the feedback that we get. If you like it, we'll continue to do it. Even if you don't like it, we'll probably still continue to do it. But we're here now.
Mhm. Great, great. So what we're gonna do, the dynamics is gonna be the following way. We are going to stir the pot. We have number of topics here that we have pre-written in a piece of paper, and then we're gonna pick one. We're gonna open it, and then we're gonna get on with it. We're gonna
Well,
discuss.
my dear, the pot has a name. This is our lovely Hannah.
Okay.
So everybody, please get familiar with Hannah. And if at any time that you ever want to have a topic that you want us to discuss on air, just go ahead and send us a message, and we will write out the message or whatever it is, the topic that you want to discuss, and we will put it here in Hannah, and we will stir the pot, and we will select the topic. Hopefully we'll get through, maybe like right now we have 12 topics in here. We're not going to get through all 12, but perhaps, maybe, what do you think, maybe five or six? We'll
I say
see.
we do one topic only.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and do one topic only and see how it goes, and then we'll take it from there. So here we go, stirring the pot, and let's see what Hannah wants us to discuss today.
All right. So I am the lucky person
You are the lucky
to
one.
pick one. Okay.
Yes.
So the topic for today is what it means to be grown. What does it
Wow.
mean to be grown?
Wow, that
Okay.
is absolutely a really good, interesting topic. Don't show people my horrible handwriting. I didn't write in preparation for you to actually show it on, like, streaming. My
So what does it mean to
penmanship
be
is not
grown?
great right now. You know what? What does it mean to be grown? Is just basically, being responsible, taking responsibility for your actions, for your words, taking ownership of your words, being responsible, and just, remembering that we waited so long to be adults. When we were young, we used to watch the grown-ups in the room, and we were like, I can't wait to be grown.
Mm.
I can't wait to be grown because I don't have to answer to anybody. I can't wait to be grown so I could be free. I can't wait to be grown so I could go to sleep whenever I want to, do whatever I want to, eat whatever I want, and just, be grown. But now that we're grown, it seems that sometimes we're a little bit more restrictive in what, we could say and what we could believe, because with all these things that are going around, it's like, oh, you shouldn't say that, oh, you shouldn't do that. But it's like, but I'm grown. I thought that when I'm grown I would be responsible for my own action, and I would be able to do whatever I want. And if you don't like it, oh well. What about you?
You know what? I'm gonna speak based on my own experience. As a man, I grew up late. I wanted to continue to be a young man with no responsibilities, with no attachments, and so even when I got married, it took me a while to really become the grown man based on the definition that you're giving. So um, I speak for myself, but I've noticed that a lot of men we tend to get grown later in life. I don't know why, but it took me at least to be in my mid 30s, maybe late 30s, to really consider myself to be a grown man. So, what do you think?
I mean, you know what? Age is just a number, and just because you're a particular age does not mean that you're grown. I mean, we have people who are in their 50s, 60s, and even older than that, and they still act like immature little children. And then we have younger adults that act more grown than the real adults. So I just guess it just depends on your perspective of what it means to be grown. When you feel that you're grown, I mean, you have some women that feel as soon as they have their menstruation that they feel that they're grown. Those are teenagers. It doesn't make them grown. You have some men and women who feel that the first time they have intercourse, the first time they have sex, that makes them a grown man and a grown woman. But we all know that ain't the truth. Just because you do those activities doesn't make you grown. So if you have the responsibility, if like you say, you were able to recognize at a certain time when you felt that you were grown. And what did that look like to you?
Well, having a child does have a big impact in someone's life. It made a big impact in my life to be able to have Isani. Um, you
That's
gave
our son. His name is
that's our
Usani.
son. His name is Isani, and when we met, Cheryl already had Jalisa, and she must have been around 10 when I came into your life
Yes.
and to Jalisa's life. And so, but having Isani and Jalisa was that moment where it still took me a while. It still took me another 2 3 years for me, after the baby was born, for me to realize that it was time for me to um, put my foot down and say, you know what, it is time for me to become a responsible, more responsible, and to do the right thing, to be able to have a solid marriage, to have a good finances, and to live the good life.
Yeah, and to me, I was a quintessential teenage mother, but yeah, I mean, so once I became a mother, I didn't have no choice but to take care of my daughter. I laid down for her, so it was my responsibility to take care of her. So did that make me grown just because I had, a baby? I did a grown folks activity and I ended up, getting pregnant and ended up having my daughter. But the actions that I took after that was I did decide that I was going to raise my daughter. And what made me grown is that I continued to go to school to get my education. And I also worked full time and I was a single mother. And to me, those decisions that I made, because I could have made the decision to just, let my parents take my responsibility or let, other people take my responsibility of being a teenage mother. But I chose to take that responsibility to take care of my daughter by doing the things that I told you I did, working, going to school to better myself in order for me to have a good life for my daughter. And that made me grown at a tender age of 16 when I had my daughter. So again, age does not matter when it comes to being grown. It's your actions, it's taking ownership, it's taking responsibility. Because again, you could be, 30, 40, 50 years old and you could still act like, an immature person. And you could be a young teenage mother and be more mature than the people around you.
Yeah, and now I'm gonna throw the question at you guys, our audience. I want to be able to hear or read your responses. What did it take for you to be grown? Leave your comments under this video and make sure you like, you subscribe, and then you share this podcast because we want to be able to, on our next podcast, to be able to explore other topics and be able to grow together. We have grown as a couple. Cheryl and I have been together for over 28 years now. And being grown has a lot to do with this topic. Has a lot to do with me having to make that jump from being a young man who didn't want no responsibilities, who wanted to live life like life was never going to end. It's like, wow, I never thought that that I needed to become serious and to become the person that I needed to be, that I am today, to be able to meet the responsibilities of being a parent.
Yes, and also being grown, especially growing in a relationship was learning how to talk to each other. I mean, I remember when we first met, I was pretty much stuck in my ways because I was used to being, yes, I was used to, being, the head of my household. And I was just used to, just doing things, making all the decisions. And then once, you got into my life, I had to, you know, give space for you to be the man in our lives, to be the husband for myself, to be the father of Jaleesa. And that meant, you know, being grown means that you know who you are. I had a sense of who I was, and me giving up that responsibility for you to lead did not take away from me, did not take away from me being independent. It just, added to me. And I was able to see that. If I was a kid, with a kid mentality, it'll be like, no, 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 equal, equal, equal. You're not the, you're not the boss of me. That's like a child mentality. But
Yeah.
when you have an adult mentality, you have to look at things differently. You have to look at, relationship and the way you interact with people differently. And if I would have met you, earlier, because, we both come from divorce. And I've always said my first marriage, I was a child. I was a child married, and I wasn't ready to be married. It was bad enough that I had a child myself. I knew how to be grown when it came to taking care of my child, but I did not know how to be grown in being in a relationship at that time. So, I divorced my first husband by no reason except for I just wasn't ready to be a wife. I was not grown enough. I was not mentally prepared to be a wife at that time at 19. So I got a divorce. And during that time, I was able to learn and grow and mature in understanding what it's like to be in a relationship. And then that's what prepared me to be able to be a grown woman when we got married.
Yes, indeed. So basically, what I'm hearing, and I think that's why I guess that transition for you was not as hard as it was for me. The fact that you became a mother at an early age, and so the responsibilities hit you in the face, and so you had a lot of challenges to overcome at an early age. So by the time we got into the relationship, it it was not easy, but it was probably a lot easier for you than I.
I think, I mean, let's be honest, I was hot tempered, you know that. I mean,
Still is.
I was extremely hot tempered. I was like my fuse was very, very short because I knew what I wanted. I don't beat around the bush. I'm pretty much straightforward. And like I said, I had to learn to talk to you like an adult, because it was like, I would just get like really like I wanted done, I wanted a particular way, and I had to learn to have that conversation with you because again, I was so used to being by myself and making all the decisions. So when I had to, you know, um, have a conversation with you in regards to, hey, give me feedback, and I didn't get a feedback, it would be like, oh. So really hot tempered and impatient and stuff like that. But then throughout the years, the 28 years, I think I tamed a little bit more, that I have a lot more I have a lot more patience. And again, that's part of just when you go through this path of adulthood, sometimes you don't know who you are. Sometimes you're just reactive, and it takes other people, pointing out not necessarily your flaws, but the things that you do. Because again, I was just being what I knew how to be. I just knew how to be Cheryl. I just knew how to be a mother. I knew my responsibility was for two people on this earth, and that was for myself and for my daughter. So once I, had the relationship of I have a husband, I have a man, and I need to make sure that you're in this equation, it was kind of hard. Like, oh my God, I have to like tell my husband like where I'm going. Oh my goodness, I need to check in with my husband. It was a lot. I mean, it wasn't a lot that it was like difficult to do. It was just, I guess, getting used to that, because again, when you transition from, the life that you have being, whether if even whether or not I was a single mother or not, my situation was that, but just coming from, when you're with most young people, you transition from being in your parents' house to, either if you go to college, you go to a dorm, you have rules at the dorm. If you go into the military, you have rules at the military. And then you have that little span of time where you may get your own place and you live by yourself before you transition into a relationship. And then it's that whole learning curve of, oh my God, I'm in this relationship, I'm in it now, what do I do? And you kind of bump heads.
Yeah.
And then if you're still not mature and you don't know how to like have that conversation, you argue like children. You argue like cats and dogs. You don't know how to resolve anything because we have our egos,
Yes.
and so when you're not in that grown person state of mind, that's why a lot of people break up, and it's like, what happened? Like, I was so in love with this person, then we broke up, but then you didn't know how to have a grown folk conversation. You just knew how to get mad, how to yell, and not be able to resolve things, and then whoop, there it is, you're no longer together. And that could have happened to us during any time in our,
Yeah.
getting to learn each other, because again, I was hot tempered.
Mhm.
I was like, hey, you know what? I don't need this. I was not a person that liked to argue. I would just leave.
Yeah.
Until, I learned that it was like, this is something that I want. It was something that I want to fight for. And I think we both did. And we just learned how to talk to each other.
Yeah. No, and I have to add the fact that I also come from a divorce from a previous relationship, and it uh, it was hard for me to. I wanted someone, but I wasn't ready to be in a serious relationship. So it took me a while, even living together. We got married later in life, and so probably how many years into our relationship? From 1998 to 2009. You figure 1998, 2008, 9, about 11 years later, we decided to get married. And we got married in Livingston, Guatemala. And so all of those things really helped to solidify our relationship and to be grown, really. So today's topic is again.
Wow. Okay. I need to read it. Thank goodness I didn't throw it away. But this was the topic that we initially got from Miss Hannah over here. And the topic was what it means to be grown. So,
What does it mean for you to be grown? Please leave your comments right under this video. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also share this podcast. This is a show that we are starting a podcast. Let's call it offer brought to you by Gahfu Garifuna. This is the Gahfu YouTube channel, and it's called Steering the Pot with Cheryl and Ronnie.
yes, I think we stirred the pot right there. I mean, you know, being grown, wow, it
Mhm.
looks different to so many people, being grown. You'll have people that say, I'm grown, I'm grown, I'm grown. And when you have to tell people that you're grown, you're usually not grown.
Mhm.
I always say that, like, grown people don't go around saying I'm grown. Your actions, the way you speak,
Speak
the
louder,
way
yeah.
you carry yourself, people can see when you're grown. You don't need to tell people that you're grown. And when you look around and you see that person and they're arguing and they're yelling, I'm growing, I'm growing, I'm growing. And you're looking at, everybody's giving them the side eye and be like, you know what? You're not really acting like you're grown.
And also
So,
wanted to add that that aspect of you being grown can also be seen in your workplace. For example, today in my office, one of the new employees came and he told me, Miss Figueroa, I really love the way you do your job. I want to go back to school. I get my bachelor's degree and be like you, be someone who is devoted to the veterans. I work with veterans, and so I told them, you know what, go back to school. You could do it online, and but then the fact is that he told me that I was a grown individual who is very mature and very professional in what I do, and so he wanted me to give him advice, and I did give him advice. I told him stick to your dreams. If it's for you to go back to school and get an education, get a bachelor's degree so you could earn more money, because that's what he said. He said, I want to be able to go back to school and make more money. But he also used me as an example of someone who he follows, who he admires. And I felt so good about that because I do, whether it's the workplace, or whether it's in a social setting or with family, I act very mature. And I also um, um, love family. I love our friends, and I show them the respect that they showed me, and we act upon it.
yes, and yes, my husband is mature, but then there's a difference between being mature and being uptight. So you could be grown, because I know once upon a time, that whole concept of being grown was that you have to be stiff upper lip and always be poshed and everything like that. But that's not grown. You could be grown without being conceited, without being, like you have a stick up your butt. You could present being grown without any of that stuff. Again, maturity looks different to different people. Like me, you see me out there, I don't like to say a party animal, but I love to dance. There's a difference between loving to dance and being a party animal. I just love to dance. And I'm sure when people see me dancing my butt off, it's probably like, oh my God, like she's just whatever, but that's just my spirit. Because I had to mature so fast, I do have a childlike spirit with being free and being, gleeful and dancing, because I've done my job of raising my children and so forth. So I am in that place in my life that I'm joyful. I have a lot of spirit, but it doesn't take away from my age. And again, I'm
She's a
not.
baby. She's only 52,
I didn't
53.
ask you to mention that. So
I am 61, so I'm
I
older than her, but then she's got all the energy.
I will did not ask you to do that, so we are going to edit that out, because again, my husband is the one that likes to disclose every and anything, and I'm going to not do all of that. So yeah, I mean, I'm okay with my age. Yeah, I'm like,
How old are you again?
I you know what, the funny thing about age is, because I have my daughter so young, I was one of those rare women that always aged myself up by 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
And so I honestly sometimes forget how young I am, because according to me in my head, I should be 56 or 58, according to when I used to age myself up. But I'm, and even to this day, sometimes when people ask me how old I am, I tell them that I'm 56,
She gets
57,
confused.
but I'm really not. Like my husband so so graciously referred to me as a baby. I believe I'm 53
Three.
years old. Yes, you see, I was about to say 55 again. I am 53 years
And you could see now
old.
why all the dancing and all of that, jumping around. This is every weekend when Friday comes. She wants to dance 3, 4, 5 hours nonstop, which is good. I love it. I love to be there with her, play videos, music videos, that is, or DJ. I will play my DJ music for her, and we'll just enjoy the night away. Uh,
It keeps me young. I mean, it keeps me young. All that energy, all that dancing, it just keeps me young, keeps my spirit. lifted because it brings me joy, laughter, and yeah, and just to be able to still move like that, like they say, use it or lose it. So I move it so I don't lose it. So when you see me out there jumping around and dancing, join me. Shake a hip, shake a rib, shake a leg, shake something.
All right, so welcome again. This is your Gahfu Garifuna YouTube channel. This is a new podcast that we have called Steering the Pot with Cheryl and Ronnie. And I want to ask you to please, if you have any suggestions of any topics that you would like us to discuss, go ahead and leave it in the comments. And we will go ahead and promise that we'll read every comment, every suggestion, and that we will
You'll read them.
I will add it to the pot.
Stop showing my
so that
ugly
we could steer the
handwriting.
pot and then talk about a specific topic that you would like us to discuss.
Again, this topic was what it means to be grown. And we're going to ask you to just, jot down what it looks like to you to be grown and what it means to you to be grown. There's no wrong answer. Participate if you like. This is all in fun and understanding and getting to know each other. Again, just, you know, send us a message, leave us a message, and yeah.
Who knows what our next topic will be, because we don't want to prepare in advance. We don't want to have a script or anything. We just want to do it as normal as possible, right?
Yes, yes. We just want to make this,
Natural.
like I told my husband when he, tried to convince me to do this podcast, I said, I want this podcast to be organic. I don't want it to be scripted. I don't want it to just be something that we just like, it just looks fake or whatnot. I want it to be, authentic as the conversations that we have, just daily with ourselves, because we're always having conversation and with me. And I asked him this, I was like, are you sure you want me to do a podcast? Because you never know what's going to come
It's
out
not
my
only
mouth.
you, it's me too.
No,
So it's the two of us
no,
together.
me, the way my mouth is. You just never know what's going to come out my mouth. So thank goodness that hopefully for right now, we're only going to be doing recordings, pre-recordings. And
Yeah, we're not trying to do lives. What we want to do is, of course, record it and then release it on our Gahfu channel. After we do a little cleaning, we're gonna edit.
So for right now, we're just gonna do the podcast, upload them and whatnot, and maybe one day, if we continue to do this, maybe we will go live one day and see what happens. It'll probably be hysterical, because
And basically, we want to keep it natural. We want to keep it organic. And today's topic again is called "What Does It Mean to Be Grown?" So we did discuss this topic today, and we're gonna leave you with that. This is the end of our first broadcast, and hopefully give us some feedback so we are able to accommodate everybody. Give us a topic. Make sure you leave the comment under this video, like it, share it, and also subscribe to this channel so you're able to get alerts when our new video is released.
And hopefully next time my husband will not be this stiff. Trust me, he's not this stiff. He's usually a little bit more loosey goosey, but he has to,
I'm getting there.
He's showing up, look at him all dressed up and looking all, he's fine too,
All dapper.
for 61, all dapper and everything.
61.
61. Can you believe this man is 61 and looking all dapper and fine? Look at, he's even wearing wine, looking like a fine glass of wine. But you know what? That's just what we do.
Yeah.
Again, grown folks, right?
Yeah, and we want to send hugs and kisses to all of you out there in Central America, in Europe.
Those of us who know, we're not sending hugs and kisses to strangers now. We're sending hugs and kisses to those people that we know. Yeah, we're not kissing up on strangers.
And those people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as well. We have friends and family there. In New York, we have a lot of friends and family all over the United States, really. And in Central America, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, even Nicaragua, we have people who we're very, very close to. And so hopefully you are the ones who I expect to hear from.
And again, when we discussed this podcast, one of the things that I wanted to emphasize with my husband was that I wanted this podcast to be specifically for everyone, for our Central American community, our
Caribbean.
Caribbean community, our indigenous community, not just our Garifuna community. We want everybody to feel welcome, when they come and they click play. We want you to feel, that we're not just talking, to just a specific group. We're talking to everybody, but specifically those groups that I mentioned that, there's not really something out there for you like this in this platform that we're trying to start where you could discuss things. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. Some things will be heavy. We'll talk about, grief. We'll talk about loss. We'll talk about love. We'll talk about addiction. We'll talk about spirituality. We'll talk about a lot of things.
So send us your comments, and in those comments, make sure that you mention a specific topic that you would like us to put in the pot, so we could stir it and maybe pick one of the topics. We have multiple topics in there in a little piece of paper, and then we will pick one at a time to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So thank you again. It's time to say goodbye. We'll see you soon on our next podcast.
All righty then. All right. Thanks for joining us. And again, Ronnie and Cheryl here. Looking forward to stirring the pot with you on another day. Take care. Bye
Ayo.
bye. Ayo.